Welcome to Wasatch Weekends for this Saturday, November 4th edition. I'm your host, Ben Roof. We've got a great show in store for you today with lots of incredible guests, but we're going to start things off with a local announcement. The 16th Annual Utah Snow and Avalanche Workshop kicks off this Saturday, and that is where they invite avalanche experts from all over the West to share their knowledge and best practices on how to keep ourselves safe out there on the snow. And that is scheduled for all day Saturday at the DeJoria Center in Camas and for live stream at the UtahAvalancheCenter.org. So make sure to check that out and learn some fantastic information on how to keep yourself safe out there this winter. And there's also the toy exchange over at the Park City Library, giving you an opportunity to swap out your complete, clean, used toys for different ones, hoping to give a new toy to a new kid with a new imagination and keep those things in circulation and out of the landfill, part of Park City's efforts to get more and more sustainable as the years go on. Now, let's take a quick look at today's weather.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. It's Saturday and we've got Nuzzles & Co. and Josh joining us with an adorable little puppy. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm terrific. How are you?
I am doing well. How is that little pup you've got with you?
She's really wiggly right now. She's a very affectionate res dog that came with us back from a recent visit to the Navajo reservation. I was down there about 3 weeks ago, and she was one of the dogs that we ended up bringing back that day.
Looks like she's going to be a little bit hard to keep on camera there, but I bet she is going to be super friendly and super playful. She certainly looks like it.
She's got a lot of energy this morning. Normally I have her like running around my office, and she'll like go from running 100 miles an hour to just like falling asleep at your feet. We think she's somewhere around 10 weeks old. She does appear to be a little bit smaller than some of the other dogs we get from that area, so I think she's going to be pretty small overall. Hi, kiddo. We might put you down here in a minute. Oh, thank you for the kisses. When I was driving back, she would actually sit on the back of my neck. Oh, she jumped off in the car on the way back from the Navajo reservation. But she came to us because a neighbor saw that some kids were treating a small puppy like a stuffed animal and kind of throwing her around.
Oh.
And so she got a nice little bonk on the head. And the neighbor kind of picked her up and brought her to our resource center. And we've had a close observation with her, and she seems to be healthy and doing well. And she's been in a foster home in Park City for a couple of weeks, and she's going to be ready for adoption today.
Awesome. Well, it definitely sounds like a great solution to what sounds like not great situation for the little pup down there. Did you guys bring any other dogs with you when you came back from the reservation?
We did. So we were down there twice in a week. In the first trip, we brought down 4 dogs back with us, and then we turned around and brought 17 more back like a few days later. So quite a few animals. The animals we really focus on down there are the ones who are probably have a medical issue, they've been abandoned, or they look like they're puppies who can't be cared for, and so they're dropped off with us. So they're probably the most vulnerable is how we like to describe them. We had a cute little guy who you'll also see on the website today, named Zach Brown, who had mange and all his hair fell out. So for a couple of days, he looked like a really old man, even though he was like 10 weeks old. But he's another little small dog that really, really sweet, and we're happy that we were able to save him.
Well, awesome. So are most of these dogs now hanging out at the rescue ranch, or have you kind of dispersed them amongst our community here in various foster homes?
They went to a lot of foster homes just so we could get them, some one-on-one attention and a lot of extra love. A lot of the puppies needed a little bit of time before they were big enough and old enough to get their spay neuter. So we were waiting for that. We're kind of at that point for most of them. So you'll start to see a lot of dogs appear today, maybe even yesterday, maybe even Monday, that are from that trip. Some really cute ones, and they all have some pretty nice, heartwarming stories.
Well, awesome. If they're anything like Chansey, it seems like they're going to be super affectionate and grateful pups too for the new home.
It's funny because I spent a lot of time with Chansey, and she's been really affectionate, like lots of kisses, lots of cuddles, and she'll literally like sleep in my lap for hours and be really sweet. That is probably the most rowdy I've ever had her, is like when we've just tried to put her on camera just now.
You know, something about cameras, you'd stick those on people or pets or animals, and all of a sudden they're behaving differently. I spooked a whole bunch of deer yesterday with a giant camera lens, and until I put the big camera lens on, they were all like, "Oh, what's that guy doing over there?"
Sure.
So tell us about what you guys have coming up. I know that like we're starting to get a little bit colder, so you guys might not be out and about in the community quite as much, but what do you guys have going on?
So yesterday was Live PC, Give PC. What a great day. Thank you so much for everybody, showing your support. We love that Park City takes care of their nonprofits like that. Moving forward, it is colder, and we'll probably be doing a little bit less events. We will do some snuggle lounges, meaning bringing puppies to a couple of the hotels. Waldorf hires us, and we do things with them. So we're in their lobby occasionally, as well as the Pendry. And just kind of getting ready for Christmas. We'll have a holiday mailer coming out, just saying, happy holidays. There's some heartwarming stories, and just kind of finishing up the year.
Well, and if people are looking for it, I mean, if you're ready, if the family is ready, and you got the house for it, a puppy can be one of the best Christmas gifts imaginable.
Puppy, a cat, even an adult dog. Adult dogs for us, I feel like, are some of the biggest victories because they don't go as fast as puppies, but I feel like some of their personalities are some. I mean, we bond with these guys because we have a little bit more time with them, and they're pretty amazing dogs. So I think if you're open to having a new animal in your home, a new family member, in some ways that member will choose you when you start looking. So I recommend coming to a shelter or coming to Nuzzles with your heart open and kind of open to the universe and see what happens. And in a lot of cases, the decision will be made right in front of you.
Well, that is certainly how I wound up with my dog. I went to a shelter in an effort to foster a dog and kind of see, am I really ready to take care of a dog yet? And then this little chocolate lab sat on my foot, and 7 years later, I'm happy as
Puppy dog eyes, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and that's the thing is, we can do a foster situation if you want to test the waters like you did. That we certainly have animals coming to us all the time. So if you want to open up your home and your hearts to an animal as they approach their adoption time with us, that's an amazing gift to us and the animals. And then we have the situation of what's called a foster fail, which is exactly what you did.
Exactly. Well, and let me ask you a little bit more about fostering. If like people are interested in test driving is not exactly the right phrase I'm looking for, but since I can't find a better one, test driving, having a pet, like is fostering and getting in touch with Nuzzles and being one of your guys' fosters a good way to kind of, see if they are ready to take care of a pet, since it's not nearly the same commitment as going out and adopting and saying, no, this is my dog, but having that couple of month period to kind of get to know them, get to see what it's like, and then decide maybe next dog I'm going to keep.
I mean, fostering opportunities vary widely with us. It can be, you want to take a dog overnight just to get him out of the ranch or for the weekend. It could be that you want to foster somebody like this lovely little girl right here. And in that case, you'll probably have that animal for a couple of weeks. So with our fosters, we kind of ask more information, like what is it you want to do? How long of a commitment? But the beautiful thing is we do provide you with all the food, crate, toys, anything that you might need to take care of that animal. So it's sort of a free way to test drive. And we do have something called foster to adopt. So if you are considering an animal, we kind of let you do a trial adoption and take the animal home, make sure it's a good fit, make sure that Chauncey doesn't like just drive you crazy when you get home. And if it feels right, then you follow up and we do a contract and make it happen. Hi, kiddo. Did you not get enough attention
I
this morning?
imagine that that's a great way too to see if the potential new family member gets along with pets that you might already have, or kids in the house, or, you know, just the physical situation of the property too.
Right. I actually feel like foster to adopt is a great, it's usually the best way if you have another animal. That way you can test the waters and make sure it's a good fit. We certainly don't want to set you up for failure or the animal up for failure. We want to make sure it's a good fit for the family.
Of course. Well, before I let you go, Josh, anything else you want to leave us with?
Just thanks again for all your love and your pouring of support yesterday for Let PC Give PC. What a special community we have, and we love being a part of it.
Oh, spectacular. Thank you so much for joining us, Josh, and sharing Chansey with us. And if you guys are looking for a pet, make sure to head out to Nuzzles & Co. and check out their rescue ranch or their adoption center here in Park City. Josh, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
And we'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to Wasatch Weekends. Fashionably is an incredible new online service where a personal stylist can take some examples of looks that you're after and do some personal shopping for you to help you find the perfect outfits. Let's take a look at all of the services they have to offer.
So very excited. I have a dear friend here that I have an interesting story how we met. Taylor Coyle with Fashionably. How are you doing?
Hi,
I can see you. I love it.
Yes, I can see your face.
Oh,
it's
Taylor.
great to be here.
It's so good to see you. It's been what, 6 years?
Something like that.
Something
but it'll
crazy.
always feel recent.
Yes. And so, Taylor, you and I met in Guatemala, in the legit jungles of Guatemala. Can you kind
Kind
of
in the middle of nowhere.
literally in the middle of nowhere. And then here I come. I remember day one, I'm in like fashionable boots. By the way, the picture you sent me I'm wearing a dress with my sneakers in the jungle. What was I doing?
Bright pink lipstick.
Look, I wore it for you. It's the
Same
same.
lipstick.
It's the exact same. I wore it. I brought it out.
I love it.
So, Taylor, you work for this amazing company called Fashionably. Can you give us a little background about it?
Yeah, so we do personal styling and we really try to make that accessible to everyone. Personal styling is something that typically only the richest folks among us can afford.
Right.
And it's important to us to kind of like build a longer table, as as a very famous chef says, instead of a higher wall. And so in our longer table, we try to help folks feel more affirmed in the clothes that they wear. Sometimes it's kind of a healing practice to feel like yourself in your clothes.
Right.
Sometimes it's a sense of play, a sense of joy, and sometimes it's just that you have a high-powered job and don't have time or energy to think about the clothes that you're wearing, but you know that the way that you show up in the world is going to kind of impact everything from your own spirit to the way that you are perceived in the world. And so we have created this space of non-judgment so that, you know, when you come to be perceived by our stylists, it's a very beautiful thing to be like, here's who I am, help me dress for it, like help me express who that is through my clothes.
I love that you said this because it goes so perfectly with our situation of how we met, because in Guatemala, in the jungles, right? And we both show up authentically as we are. And you know, I'm full of color and craziness and just, I feel like clothing is poetry in motion. And that's what your company is showing people, that you truly express the beauty on the inside outside, which I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that's why I joined actually. I joined in April.
Okay.
I'm now a co-founder, which is just an honor.
Huge.
I know it's
I
so
love you. I know.
fun. I mean, it is huge. Like we
It
should be able to
is.
say that,
Oh,
right?
a
Like,
100%. You need to own it. I'm so proud of you. I just like I was so stoked to even reach out to you. I'm like, okay, it's been 6 years, and literally a couple, an hour. You're like, yes, girl, we're gonna do this. We're gonna. No, you should be proud of yourself. It's a big accomplishment.
thank you.
Of course.
And it's so meaningful too. I think I really resonate with our clients. I am the only person on the team who does not have a background in fashion. My background is in building and growing consumer startups. So I play an important role on the team, but I also almost feel more kinship with our clients in
I
some
love
ways
that.
because I'm like, yeah, I don't always know how to express myself through my clothes. Like, I
Right.
need your help too. And like I've been in those moments where I've kind of like felt lost in life, and like every time I get dressed, I sort of like don't recognize the vibe that I'm putting off. I'm like, this isn't quite me, but I'm not really sure how to fix it.
Yes.
And getting an expert, like an artist, truly to kind of like see me and then help me translate that into an outfit. So that I can kind of like walk through the world with more confidence and spirit and spark. I think it's beautiful. It's magic, and I'm so excited that this company exists and that we're growing and helping and just
I love that, Taylor. So walk us through exactly how it works. How, because I am a girl that loves fashion. Let's say maybe tomorrow I hit you up to help me dress for TV, radio, etc. How do I do this? How does the process look?
So you fill out a questionnaire to tell us all about kind of your lifestyle, your preferences, what you already gravitate towards in your own closet, and what you already like in your vibe, and anything you're looking for, anything you tend to avoid. And then our stylists take whatever existing clothes you send us, you can take pictures of them, and we will put them together in a lookbook of either 5 or 10 looks.
That's
to
different.
curate.
That's very, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt, but that's really cool. That's very different. Cool.
It
Okay.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. We get, I think most people are familiar, if you're into the fashion space, you're familiar with the kind of companies that send you boxes of clothes.
100%. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we don't do that because, well, there's several reasons we don't do that. But one of the things I think is really important is because every time I've talked to someone who's used one of those services, it feels like they're just trying to sell you the clothes that they're sending you instead
Right.
of like actually trying to help you understand the practice. And so it's, teach a man to fish versus just give some people some fish.
Yes, I
So-
love that because
Right.
you're teaching people their personal style. Like this is you. This is how you show up in the world, and this is what's gonna make you feel good and stick out and stand out. I love that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and it means that we're not like limited to one particular aesthetic as well. I
Right.
think that that's a really freeing feeling is we style folks who have wildly different vibes, and again it's a space of non-judgment. So like we see their vibe and we're like, heck yeah, like let's play in this little creative area that you've given us.
Love it.
And I think that really sets us apart.
that is amazing. So I send you pictures. I show you kind of my vibe, my style. Someone asked me the other day how I would describe my style, and I said bohemian rocker chic. I have no idea. I'm all over the place. You know this.
No, Bohemian Rocker Chic is totally you. I think that's totally right. Yeah.
I love you. So what does it look like then? So you get my kind of steez, you see what I'm about, and then do you send clothes at all? Or no? I know there's accessories, etc. Yeah, what does the next step look like?
So the next step, so all of our stylists are like industry vetted. We hire experts and
Yeah.
make sure folks have really styled people in real life. And so what they do is they'll start usually with any sources of inspiration you give us.
Okay.
So for instance, I could see you saying like, throw a little Stevie Nicks in there,
100,
So-
girl, yes. I love
right?
it.
And
Yes.
so maybe Molly, one of our stylists, she's a co-founder, maybe Molly would go and like look at some old photos of Stevie Nicks and then also kind of have up in the same window some of the clothes that you already sent us, like images of them.
Okay.
And just kind of like compile some inspiration for herself to kind of like put them all together.
Okay.
And then go shopping for you basically online and basically say like, okay, I think a leather jacket here, or I think like maybe if we try to add an element of play here or like dress it down. And so she would pull a bunch of options and then have those options and then create looks with them. So
Oh, I love this. I love
Yeah.
and I saw that you have price points, which is huge as well, because then people feel comfortable, like, hey, I'm doing well, but I don't have $1 million to, spend.
Yeah.
And then,
Especially right now. Yeah.
yeah, oh, girl, yes, I know. Well, that's another conversation. We'll have you back another time for that.
Totally.
But my question being this too is, for TV, I'm able to dress a little bit more fun and funky, but we want to keep it a certain level of professional. Is that something that I can also let them know? Like, hey, for, this career, this job, I need this, but then maybe if I'm going to, go to an event for the radio station, I can dress more funky. Is that something that, we can add in there as well?
Totally. I think that's so important. I think a lot of people that I know struggle with having like sort of two different wardrobes or even like
100%,
three
yeah.
different wardrobes where it's like I only wear these clothes for work. I only wear these clothes on the weekend, and you end up with what is called a bifurcated closet, which is
Yes.
just like two separate
Yeah.
entire wardrobes that don't mix, don't blend. And you end up feeling like you kind of have two different personalities in a way. And so one of the things that a lot of folks come to us wanting to do is to kind of like blend, and kind of have one closet that they can pull from and play with for kind of any scenario. And yeah, some pieces are going to be a little more suited to one area of your life than another, but
Right.
the goal would be to sort of have like a cohesive sense of self, so it doesn't sort of feel as segmented in a way, unless you really want it to. Sometimes you want to compartmentalize a side of yourself
Right.
or a side of your life, and that's also valid, and we can also help with that, but it just depends on your goals.
You got me so excited. I'm really excited. I think I'm going to have to check this out. I'm going to try it
Oh
out.
my gosh,
today.
we're going to have to do one for you. We're
I
absolutely
honestly,
going to do a
I'm
style guide for
really
you.
into this, because then we can have you
Yeah.
back and I'll wear all the pieces. I'm stoked on
Heck
it.
yeah. Oh, I love it.
And
yeah.
I feel
and
like
maybe
you
we can-
see me so well. So, I mean, we've been through, we'll tell you, Taylor and I went through the Guatemala, I know it's so sad, the volcano eruption. We were stuck together, literally stuck together for 3 days extra.
It sounds fake.
During the eruption of the volcano. This is how our friendship love story commenced. It started, and I love it. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for the information. And where can everyone go to check out this awesome company, Fashionably?
Fashionably. So
Fashionably.
you can find us online, Fashionably, FASHIVLY.com. We're also on TikTok. Yeah, there we are.
Go.
Hey.
Yep.
Hey.
Fashionably.
Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
It's so cool. Oh, Taylor, I'm stoked. I think we're going to have you back. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to do it. I think it would be so much fun.
Incredible. Can't wait. Love you, Gretchen.
I love you too, Taylor. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you more again later.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Welcome back to the show. Tribute Wines and vintner Chris Benzinger is incredible, and they have a new opportunity where they're helping people pair wines for the holidays, and Kim talked to them a little bit earlier. Let's take a look.
Happy Halloween. As you can see, we are heading into the start of the holiday season, and joining us today is probably the guy you're going to want to hear from, because he has all of the advice on how to pick wines for the holidays as they come. We've got the starter and the founder of Tribute Wine, Chris Benzinger, joining me. Chris, how are you?
Great, Kimberly. How are you doing?
Doing great. You look like the quintessential winemaker. And on today's
Yeah, I got my
Halloween
winemaking vest on. Yeah, happy Halloween. This is my costume.
I love it. So, Chris, you come from a large family. Winemaking has been in your family forever. You're the youngest of 5 brothers and the founder of Tribute Wine. So, picking the right wine is very important. Talk to me about that and why it's so important as you enter into the holiday season.
Well, first of all, you're never going to go wrong with picking wine as a holiday gift or taking it to someone's dinner party. Everyone loves wine, right? Whether it's a bottle from the local grocery store that's inexpensive or something that's a little more vintage specific for a more wine savvy person, you're never going to go wrong with a bottle of wine. The trick is to find that one that's the crowd pleaser, right? That's not going to bust the pocketbook. And that's what I love about Tribute Wines is I made these wines to like the Cabernet, it drinks like a literal $50 bottle of wine, but it's only going to cost you $15, $20 at the tops. And that's what you want. And your hostess or host are going to love it. And even your in-laws.
Well, I can personally say I've had the Cabernet of Tribute Wine, and it's absolutely
pretty
delicious.
Good, huh?
It really is. So how did you aspire to Tribute Wine?
You know what? Tribute is all about my family, right? My family's been in the wine business for over a century. My grandfather and father had an importing company. My oldest brother, Mike, moved out to California in the 70s, and we all followed him. 13 of us moved out from New York City. It was like the Beverly Hillbillies in reverse. We moved out from the streetlights of New York to the wilds of Sonoma County, and we started this beautiful winery. But unfortunately, time marches on, right? And I lost my parents, I lost a brother, and I got really nostalgic because I was the last person in my generation in that family business. But I had all my nieces and nephews. I got 19 of them growing up in the business, and I wanted to share something with them. So I had this idea of a tribute to my mom and dad, my brothers and sisters for everything they did and all those great adventures. And I wanted to share that with that next generation, my nieces and nephews. And that was the inspiration behind Tribute.
19 nieces and nephews. That's really
I
amazing
know.
to leave a legacy.
Nepotism run amok right there, huh?
Yeah, I bet your holiday dinners are just wild.
They're nuts. They're nuts, Kimberly. Yeah.
I love that. So speaking of holiday dinners, talk to us about the importance of wine and food pairings as you are planning your menu.
Okay, so here's the first thing is drink what you like, okay? That's the most important thing. We get too caught up about, oh, what are you doing? Bring what you like to drink because then you're going to have a good time, right? If you like sparkling wine, bring sparkling wines. But I'm going to stick to the 4 major varieties, like Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is one of the easiest wines to pair with because it goes with almost everything because it's got this beautiful acid backbone. Your aperitifs, your cheeses, oysters, seafood, Asian cuisine, it's perfect. Or just on the old patio, it's a wonderful wine. Then you get your Chardonnays, a little bit more complex. Those goes with your chicken dish or maybe your creamy pastas like an Alfredo. And then the reds, Pinot Noir, my personal favorite, has lighter tannins. So that's going to be a really easy wine to pair with a lot of foods. It's a perfect wine with pizza, with pork tenderloin, with salmon. It's great. And then Cabernet, your steaks, your chops. But my favorite is to have a glass after dinner when you're sitting around with your friends and family telling stories. We used to call it Cabernet Confessions, and that's when all the best stories, all the juicy ones are told,
I think I'm going to implement Cabernet Confessions in my holiday dinners.
Definitely.
So let's say you're heading to a holiday party and you don't know what people like to drink, but what would you say would be the best wine to bring as a crowd pleaser?
All right, so I split the difference. I always bring a red and a white because you never know, right? And I always kind of go Sauvignon Blanc because everybody loves it. It's easy, it's light, clean, and crisp. And I always go Cabernet because most people wanted something a little bit more unctuous, a little bigger. And that's what I love about these tributes. I got this killer Monterey Sauvignon Blanc that has got that great acid. And then this Paso Cab, which, like I said before, drinks like a $50 bottle of wine, even though it's going to be, $15, $20.
Well, I think I'm heading to the wine store after this. Now, tell us a little bit. You have such a family history. How did your family get started into the business?
So it's really my oldest. Well, my father and brothers had an importing company and some liquor stores back in New York. But my oldest brother, Mike, moved out to California in the early 70s, like 1973, became a winemaker, and he loved it. And he wanted to start a family winery. So he came back home and he sat us really all down around a family dinner and said, hey, I want to start a family winery and I want you guys to run it with me. We thought he was crazy, and maybe this was 5-10 years down the road, but literally in 6 short months, this is 1979, the entire family moved from New York City all the way across the country to the beautiful hillsides of Sonoma, California. And it was this wild adventure because we bought this old ranch that hadn't been worked in 50 years. It was kind of a ghost town. And we just moved in, and we just got up in the morning, we built the winery and planted the vineyards. And I can't believe that was almost over 40 years ago. And it was this wonderful adventure. And that was the inspiration for Tribute, like I said.
Wow, I love that. 40 years, you don't look a day over 30.
And the other thing too about my family that I love is how we farm too. We farm at this very high level of farming called certified sustainable, where we don't use any pesticides in the growing of the grapes, so we can get the truest, best flavors from that vineyard and get the true authenticity of those grapes in that bottle of wine.
Oh, that's amazing. And to have been sustaining the business over so many years is really impressive. So where can we go for more information? Where can we get Tribute? Tell us all of the details.
Yeah, so just go to tributewine.com. It's a wonderful website. I got some stories in there about how we got started. Some were pretty funny. And then we also have this app that on there that'll help you, whatever you're eating, it'll pair the perfect wine with it and help you out. And it's a great way to learn about wine and also a little bit more about my family and our history.
That's wonderful. You can use the app if you're novice to picking out wine selection, and then that way you look like an expert at your holiday dinners. Oh, Chris, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your family history and just giving us some tips and tricks for the holiday season. We really appreciate that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you, and have a good time. I heard you've got snow up there now, right?
We do. We've got snow, and we've got some openings already happening this week and next, so it's going to be an exciting one. We'll have to stop in and do a little bit of a wine pairing.
Let's go carve some turns.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Nice to see you, Chris. Happy Halloween, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back to the show. Seasonal depression can definitely be something that affects all of us, whether we're winter people who get a little bit depressed in the summer or summer people who can find winter to be a little bit of a downer. We had a doctor join us to help us with a little bit of advice on how to avoid seasonal depression. Let's take a look.
Today I was going to talk a little bit about seasonal depression, and the reason I think it's very timely to begin talking about this is we're starting to see people, being a little bit more down and more blue around this time of the year. The seasons have changed, the days are getting shorter and shorter, and those are usually precipitants to developing a seasonal depression if you're predisposed to it at this time. Usually most people will experience depression or seasonal depression in primarily, January, February, March. But I see, at least up here in Park City, earlier and earlier because we tend to have a pretty short fall and earlier winter than most parts of the country. And so people are already starting to say, I'm starting to kind of notice that I'm more down or blue, or I'm starting to kind of lose my energy and motivation. And so I just like to highlight seasonal depression as a true form of depression. It's not something that simply is going to be kind of mild and you can work through it. For some people, it's actually we need to kind of intervene and get some treatment started for them. Some of the warning signs for depression typically include, or they start with kind of lower moods. You'll notice lower energy, maybe struggles to focus, concentrate, maybe organize or plan things. Other things to think about, low motivation or just not wanting to get out and hang out with family or exercise or do the things that you used to typically enjoy. The other things to worry about is appetite. And I know, like for myself, around this time of year, I start craving kind of some of those more comfort homemade foods like pot roast and pot pies and things like that. And so usually, those are carbohydrate cravings, and that's something that we'll start seeing more often with people who are starting to struggle with some kind of maybe some seasonal blues or seasonal depression. I like to make sure people take those seasonal depression very seriously because it can lead to serious complications similar to any other kind of major depressive event. And that can include things like struggles to go to work or failure to be able to even go to school or even increased suicidal thoughts and those types of things. So the etiology of seasonal depression is not entirely known, but there's a lot of different theories out there. One of them being it's just related to the shortening of the days with less sunlight exposure. There's also, potential disruptions to the circadian rhythms, our natural sleep-wake cycle, where we're trying to get up and it's still dark outside. That's pretty hard on the system. And then we're staying, awake past, the time where it's dark. When we get home, it's already dark at 5, 6 o'clock, and we're supposed to stay up for another couple hours. And that's just really kind of hard on the system overall. The other theories that are out there are related to low vitamin D levels and just changes in our general routines, such as exercise and diet. And last but not least, the impact of holiday stress and how that plays a role in whether or not we start developing some depression, towards the end of fall and early winter months. The nice thing, though, about seasonal depression is there's some really interesting ways to go about treating it that are outside of our standard toolbox, at least from a psychiatrist standpoint. And I really love the idea of two different types of novel treatments. One is a light box therapy or light box treatment. The other one is called a dawn simulator, and they work a little bit differently. The dawn simulator actually will mimic dawn. Even though it's dark outside, it'll slowly brighten up your room to full brightness right around the time that you want to get up. And this kind of helps ease us into waking up in the morning, which is really nice on our melatonin and our circadian rhythm production. In addition, the other type of treatment that I'll typically recommend would be something like a light box. And you can get these anywhere, and they're relatively inexpensive, but they can be extraordinarily beneficial. And basically they look a bit just like a box, and you want to sit fairly close to them. And you want to get a box that has about 10,000 lux of bright white light. And basically you get ready in the morning and just make sure the light is very close to your eye. You don't want to look into it, but you want it to be close enough where it's shining into your retina. And that kind of mimics the bright lights of the sun that we're looking for. And sometimes people will find the light box in and of itself useful. And some people like the dawn simulator. And the research is very conflicting on which one is better, but I think everybody is different. And so I will say, well, let's try one. If that works for you, great. If not, let's try the other. And there's other times, though, where you can actually do both. You can start off with the dawn simulator, wake up, and then go ahead and sit in front of your bright light for 20 to 30 minutes while you're getting ready. Some people find that having just to sit with the light is inconvenient. They like the fact that they're sleeping half the time when the dawn stimulators are on, so they don't have to do any work after that. But I usually tell people, find what works for you and start slowly, specifically with the bright white lights. You want to start maybe around 15 minutes a day and kind of slowly increase it to maybe 30 minutes. And even though it seems harmless, it is bright white light, and you do want to make sure you're talking to somebody, letting your psychiatrist know, therapist know, primary care doctor know, because there is some people are increased risk for maybe developing a little bit of irritability. So you want to be careful about it. It is powerful medicine, even though it's light therapy. So make sure you're letting other people know, your healthcare professionals know, that that's kind of the treatment that you're pursuing or engaging in to help treat some of your seasonal depression. So that's usually where I start when I see people who are kind of having a lot of seasonal issues. Some other things that I'll think about is vitamin D supplements. And you'll be surprised, even up here in Park City, where we get tons of sunlight during the summer months, I still find people have very low vitamin D levels. And I'm not sure why, because they really shouldn't up here. But I think, we do put on a lot of sunscreen to protect our skin, which I think is important. But we also have to make sure we're getting enough vitamin D. And oftentimes I'll recommend a vitamin D supplement, particularly in the winter months, for just about everybody. But anybody who has any kind of seasonal depression, I start them on a vitamin D supplement usually around August, September, October. So those are the two main things I'll start considering for people with seasonal depression. If it starts to be kind of more mild or moderate and starts trending towards more severe, we might start thinking about some additional supplements, St. John's wort, SAM-E, and even rhodiola. And I really like rhodiola around this time of year because it gives you a little bit of an energy boost, which we all kind of need a little energy when it's really dark outside for more than we'd like. So those are the main supplements I might consider. The other one would be something like melatonin. particularly if people are struggling with sleep. And there's two different ways to use melatonin. The first is kind of like we use any kind of sleep medication, is maybe a 3 to 5 milligrams, 30 to 60 minutes before we want to go to bed. But there's another way to use melatonin that helps mimic more of our circadian rhythms. And you want to take what we call a sub-therapeutic dose or a micro dose, even like a 0.5 milligrams or a milligram. And you can actually take that much earlier in the evening so that it mimics the natural pulse of melatonin. Because we have melatonin in our bodies, and its job is to pulse, towards when we're trying to settle in for the evening, so shortly after dinner. And it's supposed to just help us bring more calm and relaxation and help us prepare for sleep. So those are the two different ways that you can actually use melatonin. Some people like to do both because it really helps them set the stage for just relaxation, but then also helping them to actually get to sleep if they're still struggling. Then lastly, one of the things that we sometimes will consider is an actual medication to help treat depression. We use the standard antidepressants just like any other depressive disorder. The nice thing about it is for seasonal depression, you only have to usually treat individuals for maybe 6 to 8 months out of the year, and there's other times where you can get them off of the medication. So if I know somebody already ahead of time has seasonal depression and it gets really bad, I might start an antidepressant on them sometime in September or October. And then usually by March, we can start kind of tapering it off. So they don't necessarily need it year round. Some people do, but I find that if you don't need it during those particular months, there's no reason to necessarily take it. So people always ask me, so who's at risk for developing seasonal depression? And we really don't quite know, but what I usually tell people is, make sure you're watching your kids and teens and college-age students, because they're going through a lot of change during the holiday seasons in the fall, a lot of breaks, a lot of final exams, good stress from the holidays, but even good stress is, our bodies don't know the difference. Stress is stress. And so even though they're very excited about certain things, that is an additional stress for them. So I would just keep an eye on that. If you find they're more irritable, in the fall, if you find they don't want to hang out with their friends as much, they're like less social, or they're eating more, eating less, or struggling more with sleep, you might want to just, check in with them to see how they're doing. I think another group that's kind of higher risk are those individuals who don't have a lot of family support, especially around the holidays. And loneliness, isolation can definitely increase people's risk for just kind of feeling low anyway. And then you tack on the lack of sunlight and the change in circadian rhythms and maybe low vitamin D, and you're kind of setting yourself for maybe some seasonal depressive issues as well. And I also want to say people who are at risk are also anybody who kind of starts to change their regular routines. I think we're all used to being outside a lot in the summer, we're hanging out with friends, and then all of a sudden fall, winter hits, and we're hibernating, and we don't want to go out, and we stop exercising, and we start turning to maybe not the best food, and we're carbo loading all the time, or we're stressed because we're planning, all these great family, whether family vacations or trips or holidays, and it can all kind of add up. And so if you find you're continuously stressed or feeling down around certain times of the month, maybe it's not necessarily seasonal depression, but maybe it's just the added stress and burden of that can happen for people during the holiday season. And this type of the holiday season, and in combination with just lack of reduced sunlight and inavailability to kind of go outside and socialize like we used to. If you're really struggling, you're really hard to get out of bed, you're missing out on more than an hour or so of sleep. Obviously, if you're having suicidal thoughts or just thoughts of just not wanting to be alive anymore, or just not finding any joy in life or joy in things that you used to, then those are signs you really want to reach out to a mental health professional and see what you can do, and maybe start thinking about some of these solutions that we've discussed.
This weather report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for joining us for our special Saturday 1-hour edition of Wasatch Weekends. Don't forget to tune in Sunday. We've got an incredible show for you, and we're going to be talking about Heber Valley's Restaurant Week. Until then, I'm your host, Ben Roof, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow.